Views expressed in this podcast are solely those of the participants. The hosts make no claim to be literary experts, and their opinions are exactly that, opinions. All creative works discussed or reviewed are the intellectual property of the creators of said stories, and is being used under the Fair Use Doctrine.
Hello and welcome to Of Swords and Soulmates, a podcast where we read, watch, and discuss romantasy stories. I'm one of your hosts, Mari, and with me I have Kelly.
Hey everyone, it's Kelly. We also have Ashley.
Hey guys, it's Ashley. We also have Jonathan.
Hey y'all, it's me, JP. I got a little cold, so I may sound off, but I'm here.
Yay, glad you're here.
A little less oomph.
Yeah.
We got kid germed.
It happens. The germs are everywhere and so are the kids. So
yeah. It's that time of year.
Yeah. They do carry the germies. Well, today we're going to be discussing book conventions or book gatherings. So I thought it would be just kind of us going over it. We're not going to really get into any details on any specific cons. Like if there's something is an event we've been to or con we've been to is a good example of something, we might bring it up. But other than that, we're not going to get into the details of specific cons, conventions or whatever. We just want to kind of give everyone an overview of what they are, what to expect at them, and how to maybe prepare for them. All right, so book conventions, book gatherings, what are they? So I went to a little wiki to get a idea of what conventions are in general. In general, conventions, not specific book conventions, are a gathering of individuals who meet at an arranged place and time in order to discuss or engage in some common interests. The most common conventions are based on industry, profession, or fandom. And book conventions specifically involve authors, readers, and other literary professionals. So book fandom, so to speak. What would you guys say to expect? If you were talking to someone who had never been to a book con, what would you tell them to expect at a book con?
So I feel like this is my area of expertise because arguably I have been limited book cons. I've been to limited cons. We were talking about this earlier, like what reference do I have, right? And arguably I've really only been to a handful of things and they all involve you guys. You are where you lead, we will follow. So yeah, I think, as somebody who's relatively newer to the book con scene, it's definitely going to depend on the vendor, right? Like who's holding the event. Because when we did Fabled Fantasy last year in 2024, it was drastically different than an event that was held shortly after, which was held by, was it Alexia?
I believe so.
Just a short time later. So the bar was set really high for me with Fabled Fantasy. So Fabled Fantasy held a multi-day event. We, at that time, Jonathan and I had only gone to one day, and it was overwhelming, but in the best way, right? It was organized. We had signed up for our events ahead of time. I think the one thing that we weren't really prepared for was like the convention floor. So like where you would go and see all the exhibits and events.
I think that's a you thing.
Why?
Because I've been to other conventions. That's kind of what convention is.
Oh, so then yeah, it's a me thing.
Which is, fine. That's what you said. You hadn't really been to other conventions before, so you were a clean slate. You didn't really know what to expect.
And so maybe I said we in the sentence, and that's why he's correcting me. Oh. I tend not to say I a lot when having group conversations. I think of him and I as a team. So he's probably correcting me in that way. So yeah, I was surprised. Like I figured I was going to be able to buy things, but I didn't think I was going to be able to meet authors on the floor like that. And so I was very unprepared. Like I didn't have, pens or, the books at home that I had been hoarding like a library dragon. And so, not that I was opposed to buying things there, but there were things that we had already had, right? Yeah. That we could have utilized in that space. So I think I'm definitely very excited for the future of book cons. And I'm very sad that there aren't more in the Southeast region. Many of them seem to be in the Midwest.
Yeah.
What do you wish somebody would have told you before we went there?
that I was going to be able to meet Juliet Cross on the floor. I knew that we were going to see her in like the panels because we had like rushed to sign up for these panels, right? And so I figured I thought there were going to be like local vendors on the floor, but not like the authors.
Yeah.
On the floor.
Well, and to be fair, that was my first book con. I'd been to other conventions, but that was my first book con. So I was expecting the same thing as you in that I was expecting vendors to be there, but I didn't think that we would be able to just walk right up to the authors and talk to them at their table. Because the other fandom type conventions I'd been to, the talent was always separated. It was, you had to sign up, you had to pay, you had to get a ticket, you had to reserve a slot, stand in line, something. They were somehow like separated from the floor, the main floor.
I like the word that you just used, the talent, because that's very much true. There was a lot of talent at the Romantasy Book Con last year, and I think that was maybe the very optimistically, like the positive overwhelming factor for me was the ability to meet some of those people. It wasn't clearly explained in all of the event pages either that was going to be available to us. So it was a delightful surprise in the best way. I was just unprepared for it.
Yeah. Guys, what about you, Kelly and Jonathan? What would you say to someone who hadn't been to a book con, what they should expect to see or experience?
I mean, I think it depends on what the convention is known for. You tell somebody what to expect if they go to Comic Con is going to be different than what they should expect if they go to a book convention or if they go to some other convention like a Star Trek convention. So it's always going to vary, but essentially you should expect to, see other people that are into the fandom or thing that you're into, expect to possibly meet authors, actors, whatever that's in the thing that you're into that the convention's about. And of course, buy merchandise, which is probably the big thing about most conventions. And sometimes there's interesting discussions or panels or presentations.
Yeah.
That's super exciting. I don't think as long as I've been a reader, I don't think I'd really ever connected with peers or like-minded, individuals like we have in this group on that level to know that I guess I never got into comic books. So, that scene I knew it existed at some point, but I'd never really I've never experienced it. Or, Mari, like what you do with Dragon Con, like cons as a whole, I think were an experience that I've never been invited to or got to witness, not really on any kind of scale, Alexia or Fabled Fantasy, because again, those are dramatically different.
Right.
So this is, this was pretty eye-opening for me and I was very excited about it. Like I get to go shopping and buy books. You know what I mean? It's like going to Barnes and Noble, but better because the authors are there. What do you mean? That was a whole new concept for my brain.
Yeah.
So I'd challenge you with this. Yeah. So expand your view of con to include expos.
So, I mean, we were talking about this earlier too. Like from an expo perspective, my experience has been bicycles with you, husband, and you worked in the outdoor sports industry for a number of years. You and I have been together. We're just rounding up at this point. It's not been 20, but it's close enough to where that's not a terrible.
We're just counting decades now.
Yeah, we're just counting in decades now. So I've definitely been to some bike expos. I think I've not been on the customer side of that. I've been on the retail side of that. So the setup, the displays, the merch.
How many years have you gone to Kansas with me?
Kansas is now 6 years. Yeah.
6 years. And
I guess I don't think about that in the same way.
I know,
but I see where you're going.
So now my question for you is that because it's indoors or outdoors for a con?
Ooh.
And I think that's if the expo, the outdoor sports expo, if that was indoors, would you give that a title of a convention?
I don't think so, because I think even the expos at Kansas, while you can buy things, it's not necessarily their main purpose. And if it is, it's to the riders, the racers, not necessarily to the general public.
It's a sharing of a common interest.
Yeah, no, I now that you say it, I see it, but it wasn't And I call it an expo, in conversation. It's one of my favorite parts of Kansas, but it's not something that I really get to do other than witness.
Yeah.
What would you guys say is the difference between an expo and like a convention? When if you were going to classify a thing, or is it just kind of the same thing, just two different words for the same thing?
An expo,
I think it's two different.
Yeah, I think it's two very different things. I think a convention is something that you're going to somehow take part in. So like whether it's a convention where you're going to attend classes, workshops, lectures, whatever, whereas an expo is more of just usually vendors or manufacturers showing off product.
They're showing you a thing. I see.
Right. So like the World Expo, the New York World Expo was a bunch of manufacturing showing off, here's the future of whatever and the products that we're going to make for it.
Yeah.
Whereas a convention or a conference is something you're going to participate in.
That makes sense.
And I would say the expos that she's been to, that's exactly what they do. There's panels, there's a large amount of product demonstration, but there's product selling. It is meet and greets. It is panels. It's just, that's the large side of things for her there. I would say I think I'm going on a limb here, a roof. So I've been to a lot of different outdoor expos, and some where they did both the expo and the convention, where they had the panels, where they were doing the trainings. Let's go get certified in this product. Let's go over the ins and outs. Let's talk to the athletes, etc. And then the outdoor side of things was, this is the product. Take a closer look at it in the wild. And I think the big, if you can get a roof, I think you can almost always call yourself a convention. But I think the interesting part when I drag Ashley to those things is that she's an outsider looking in, and it doesn't have the emotional connection to it. And I think that's the perspective that that's how I was viewing the book con last year when I went to it, is I was more of like an outsider. These people the authors, it wasn't like, oh, I get to meet this author. I'm so excited. This is great. It was just like, oh, here's a person. Who are you again?
Yeah.
Oh, okay, cool. And that's how she is in the outdoor sports stuff. And so it's interesting for me to put that hat on, and definitely got to see some of your excitement from like an audience perspective. You like Mari, I get to see you light up over authors and have more specific questions and engagement there. And I was like, oh, this is a unique hat to wear.
Yeah.
Like,
it's nice. It's nice to see things from multiple perspectives, because two people can experience the same thing, but based on what their expectations are and what their prior experience is, they're gonna feel different about it, you know?
Mm-hmm.
So generally, I would say at a book convention, people can expect there to be books for sale, for there to be panels, most likely by either the authors or with authors on them, or maybe other fans talking about specific topics, book signings, maybe workshops, book-related merch. And then a lot of times book conventions specifically tend to have some sort of like a party, networking, ball type event on one of both nights. I've noticed that. A lot of them it's a ball, but it could be a karaoke event. It could be book trivia. It could be, whatever. But they're usually some sort of like come together type socializing event. So it gives you an overview, audience, of what to expect at a book con. So let's get into the pros and the cons of book conventions. And I figured we could talk about this for readers versus authors. And I would say for readers versus professionals, because that could be authors, it could be artists who are like the book illustrators, or it could also be vendors. So a pro of a book con for readers would be that you get to connect and meet with people that have similar interests. Whether it's a just general reading or whether it's a specific con like Romantasy Con, where it's going to be Romantasy fans, or like a sci-fi book con or a comic con. You're going to have the ability to maybe interact with people who may like that really weird specific niche thing that you like. Maybe nobody else at home knows what you're talking about, that kind of thing.
That can come with time too.
Yes.
Like,
yeah.
Like you may dip your toe in to one, and like I totally still feel awkward around people.
Yeah.
Even if we have like a similar interest, I'm like, I may just want to hang around you.
Yeah, and that's fine. And even just like being there and seeing other people excited about the same thing that you're excited about, even if you don't interact with them, can be interesting as well. You also get to potentially meet authors. You can interact with them. You know, if you choose, you can maybe do signings. You can maybe let them know what you liked, or if you had weird question where you're like, hey, I read your book and this one thing was bugging me, please answer my question, you know, XYZ. You may get
tattoos
yes
up and down the pillar,
the whole situation. That's exactly what I was thinking of. R.L. Perez. We had a question for her, and she answered it. And if you listen to our Romanticy Con retrospective episode from 2024, you'll know what that question was.
Little treasure hunt there.
Yeah. You might be able to might have access to special editions of books or images or whatever that are only available at the con, or that are more easily available at the con that may sell out before, you know, if you got them through other means. That's oftentimes something that you can get as a good thing for going to a book con. You might discover new authors or books that you didn't know of, but if you're there for that niche interest and you like, maybe there's 5 authors there and you like 3 of them, then maybe check out the other 2 because maybe you'd never heard of them, but you'll probably like them too. You know, like their works as well. Like I would say we all discovered new authors by going to that Romanticy Con, which was our first book con together. Like there are plenty of people that we hadn't heard of before.
Definitely. There's I think there's a few, like DJ Russo, I learned a couple things there. I learned about a one-handed read that I didn't understand initially. They had to embarrassingly explain that one to me. There's another one that I was introduced to that I just haven't had the time to get around to read, but I think that was being open and available to new authors. That's a huge pro.
Yeah. To have an open mind. You know, try different things. You never know what you're going to be exposed to that might become your next favorite read or next favorite author. Or it might even change your perspective on something you've already read before. You know, maybe talking to the author or talking to other people who've read the book and thought about it a different way. Another potential pro for going to these events is a lot of times there's like cosplay potential. And cosplay could be dressing up in a full costume that maybe you've wanted to wear, but it could also be like wearing that really nerdy specific book related t-shirt that you want to wear and like have other people know what it's about, you know, or maybe a cool hat or whatever. Maybe, you know, specifically bring out your things related to the con that you're there for and maybe connect with somebody else over it.
Yeah. It takes, here's the thing. I think it takes a lot of courage for people to put themselves out there in a space, courage that I don't necessarily have entirely here. But I think that when I look at people who are dedicated to the craft and the skill that is cosplay, as creative and unique and everything that you have to do that goes into taking something from a book and bringing it to life with either imagery in words or even like a character that maybe they have a visual idea, but how do you take that from a 2D space and bring it into, you know, 3D 4D area, and then to risk, because it's like this is an invention of sorts, right? There's some skills like here's how to paint, here's how to airbrush, here's how to use foam, here's how to work with leather, but to say, hey, you know what, I need a unicorn horn and it has to be erupting from, you know, whatever. It's there's so many different techniques that have to be. There's not a book on that. There's not a book on like, hey, okay, here, how do I do movie style cinematic latex makeup and then have foam and then work with airbrushing and, you know, all, and then let me go find a seamstress or a seamster and figure out how to make this all come together. Like it's an
art form. It's an art form like anything else. And it's a craft that you develop your niche and what you like doing, what you don't like, and what you enjoy doing of costuming. Some people like being super realistic or authentic. Like if there are pictures or official illustrations, or like mainly you see this with a lot of movie costumes, but you see people who are really specific to like authenticity. And then you see people who are all about like making it their own or mashing it up with something else, or like, okay, I'm going to take this character, but what if they did XYZ? Like I put together a very lazy cosplay for Dragon Con one of the nights, which was Kiki from Kiki's Delivery Service. She's a 15-year-old witch in the book and in the movie. So I was like, what if Kiki were all grown up and we're like out on the town? That's the outfit I'm going to put together. So I did like a grown-up Kiki out on the town. And sometimes that's a fun exercise, just like in other art forms. Sometimes like in writing, people will be like, oh, I'm going to write this space adventure, but I'm going to make it noir. Or I'm going to mash up these two things and see what kind of story I come up with. Or I'm going to draw this pumpkin, but I'm going to do it in the style of Picasso. That kind of thing, where you play with your toolbox to get different results that you may not have gotten if you were just trying to copy the same thing exactly.
Yeah. Yeah. I love that.
It's fun. It's fun to see what people come up with. Like the imagination and the creativity people have is really fun to watch, I think. Now for vendors, authors, professionals, what would be the benefit to them? What are the pros for them of doing a book convention? I would say definitely exposure. Like I said, we're exposed to people we wouldn't have necessarily heard of if we hadn't been to these cons. Sales. Some events, they'll have better sales than others, but generally it's an event for you to sell your product, your book, your merch, whatever. Networking. You might be able to, meet with other professionals and cooperate with them, like maybe someone that does art for your book, or maybe you have merch that you want to do and you want to try and get licensing from an author. Like these are places that you can do that kind of networking and connection, whether that's connection to other professionals or whether it's connection to like the people who are reading or, consuming your craft, whatever you're making, whatever you're doing.
Yeah. Oh, definitely. Like I think, man, those are great bullet points. The exposure part is a challenge, right? It's one-on-one conversations that, and a lot. So hopefully they brought their water that day, because it is, if a lot can be riding on it. Are you in the right position? Who's next to you? Yeah. Do you have somebody that people want to visit next to you? And there's like this byproduct of, traffic that's just happening by because of a more popular or established author. How many of the conversations are you, there are some, I think there was one interaction where I was like trapped in a conversation. And I think I was trying to get away from it and I just couldn't I was like, oh no, I got to get out of here. And those were rare. Don't get me wrong. And I don't know if we ended up just buying like a small thing just to kind of terminate the, oh, thanks. I'll just take this and thanks so much.
Well, that brings us to our cons. Yeah, the cons, the downsides for readers. One of which is that pressure to overbuy. The pressure to spend money that maybe you weren't looking to spend. That is there because it is a sales event. They're looking to sell, whether it's their artwork, their book, their merch, whatever. And you may feel compelled to buy because you may feel you can get away from the table, or you may feel bad for them. So that would be a con, is that there is the pressure to buy. That's something to kind of consider.
It's like, do you ever buy like ice cream at the ice cream parlor and they just like hand you the popsicle, but then they turn the screen around and they're like, and it says like tip. And then they look away because they're like, I can't watch this. This is a cringe moment, right? Like sometimes like that's a con. I feel like that's rare, but I know that it happens, right? I don't know that I felt that overwhelmingly. Maybe I'll track it this year.
I think I called it something slightly meaner in my head, but it was like a pity buy. Like I felt some pressure to buy some stuff from some people that I normally wouldn't have, but I don't think I've regretted any of those purchases in hindsight.
I feel like you missed an opportunity for an alliteration.
Did I?
Yeah,
what is it?
A pity purchase.
A pity purchase?
Not to label it, but I mean, it's a transaction, right? So if I took their time and energy, maybe I'll just transact because, and maybe that's a book on my shelf that I don't know or like yet, but I'll like it.
Yeah.
Or not.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I mean,
It's
sometimes
a
those
roll of
turn out
dice.
well. Those gambles do turn out well. But either way, there's a pressure to spend more money than maybe you were budgeting or that you initially intended to spend. So it's a situation where you may be pressured to buy or spend more than you were as a reader, as an attendee, more than you were expecting to. You concurrently, there might be things that you want to buy, but that they sell out really quickly. So like some things are sold out in pre-sales. I would say that sometimes another con is that cost versus expectations. You might build up what the situation is going to be in your head, either from pictures you've seen before or from other events you've been to or other events you've heard of, and it may not be what you expect it to be in your head, what you've built it up to be in your head.
We had that situation too, where they used stock photography on the site. It wasn't a total. It wasn't a bust. Right? No. I don't want to like put it in that. I'm not going to put it in a bust bucket, but it wasn't an accurate.
It wasn't quite the same as advertised, for sure.
Correct.
Yeah.
I don't even think it was close to.
Well, it wasn't an accurate representation.
No.
It also was fairly affordable compared to other things. So I mean, I do try and keep that in mind, but it definitely wasn't what was in the pictures. Another potential con would be not having access to the authors or not enough access to the authors. Every con is different. Every event is different. You'll have different levels of access. And you may not have the access that you thought you were getting when you may have bought a ticket. And then the last thing would be for an attendee would be waste. A lot of times you get things in like a swag bag. You pick up 1 billion business cards or stickers or bookmarks or postcards or whatever that you then have to figure out what to do with when you get home.
What do you do with them?
I've gotten better about not picking them up if I don't have a use for it, even if it's free. Like if it's a sticker I want to put on a thing, I'll pick it up. If it's a business card or postcard, I'll usually just ask if it's okay if I take a picture of it. And that way I don't have the thing to carry home. Because even if it's something that I'm interested in, let's say it's a company or an author or an artist that I'm interested in, what am I going to do? I'm going to look at the card. I'm going to get their information, Instagram or whatever, and I'm going to follow them. Then what?
Yeah, no, I'm with you. So I think from the sales side of things, I was not really good about having cards. A lot of times companies would send you cards, and when customers would ask me if they would be like, hey, can I get your card? That was the signal to me that this conversation was ending. It was just a ticket to the door. And I would just say like, hey, I don't use cards. And they would say, if you'd like my contact information, it's on the receipt when you buy something. Which is,
see, to me, that would feel very pressure-y. And I'd be like, okay, thanks, bye.
And that's perfectly fine. I would be okay with that, because when people say like, so, and people buy differently, and it may not come out quite as harsh. So I might look at you and say, and understand that, okay, this person, depending on how our conversation went, you may need more information. You may need more time. Yeah.
Or it may not be the product for me.
Exactly. No, exactly. And when the question of do you have a card comes out, there's a measure of, is this person just asking for a ticket to the door, free pass to the door? I'm going to let them off the hook. Yeah. Kind of thing. And versus if you needed more, I'd be like, hey, listen, I don't have a card, but here's my email address. Yeah. If you have questions, you get home, think about that. Or it might be, I don't have a card, but I have a checklist. Here are the questions that I would be asking myself in the future. And then I'll write my email address on it, kind of thing. But yeah, I'm with you on that one. I'll tell you what I will pick up though. If they're handing them out, stickers and bookmarks. One, because I use bookmarks. I use bookmarks more for somebody who audiobooks the heck out of stuff. I use bookmarks to keep track and go back and reread. And if there's not a misprint, but a difference in print, I'll pick up on that in the book and be like, hey, that's not what they're saying in this audio version, like kind of thing. And I'll go back and mark it. So they get banged up over time. And then usually like I'll leave the bookmark in the book when I'm done reading it and just put it back on my shelf. So I end up buying like stacks of useless bookmarks. And so if they have one that's free to me and I bought their book, I'm pick it up and I'm going to use that as a tool to read it.
Yeah.
Or if I have I oftentimes will pebble friends across the country who also read and who should have like-minded stuff. So I'll say like, oh, here's stickers that I picked up at a convention, and here's some bookmarks, and please, here's $5 set of headphones. Please enjoy.
I tend to, if it's a book I like and there's a bookmark, I will pick up the bookmark for it and I'll keep it in the book, if I've bought the book. Other than that, I like to do bookmarks as souvenirs. So like if we go to a specific bookstore and they have a bookmark, even if I have to pay for it, I'll usually do that. And then I have a container of bookmarks, like it's a little square glass, like I think it's supposed to be for a makeup brush box that I keep on our bookshelf, and it's got like bookmarks from different stores we've been to. But if it's like just generic little bookmarks, I tend to not pick them up because I know I'm going to end up probably throwing them away. I don't use bookmarks as much. I'll use a bookmark maybe while I'm reading the book, but I do a lot more ebook reading, and that has like all the bookmark stuff built in. I have gotten better about bookmarks because I used to just, whatever was around was my bookmark. There's a leaf. That's going to be my bookmark.
And I think that's great too. Like it's a unique, a receipt.
Purposing.
Yeah, a receipt sometimes works as well.
All the time. All right, so for the professional attending people, whether it's the authors, the artists, whatever, some of the cons of the downsides of going to like a convention situation would be, once again, the cost versus expectations. Like they have to factor in the money that they're putting in to get there, the money that they've put into their stock, whether it's books or whatever. A lot of times they have to spend money to buy the table, the space at the event. And a lot of times they have to provide swag or whatever for the event. So all that money they've spent into it, whether or not they're going to get something out of it, whether that's profit back or exposure or whatever they're looking to get out of it, sometimes it doesn't pan out to be worth the cost. Not to mention, as a producing writer, artist, whatever, it's time spent away from whatever it is you do, whether it's writing or drawing or, making a thing for vending. Time that you're there selling it is time that you're not making it.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. I bet you, so I don't know what happens in the background, but my assumption is that sometimes if you have tiered types of authors where there's like a group of authors who are held at a higher, like they're a draw, they're bringing people in just for their name being their top billing, right? I imagine they're free, right? They can just, hey, we reached out, we'd like you to come. They're probably not paying, and they're probably being comped some sort of travel expense to be there, because then they become the product, right? Where on the floor, where we may see more of the
headliner people. Yeah,
correct. Yeah, there's probably a cost associated with that, and depending on the amount, publication, there's probably, I bet you there's probably some sort of tier with them as well.
Yeah. And I'm sure different conventions do things differently, but I know that that's something that like authors and whatnot have to think about. The other thing would be turnout. Like, are there going to be enough people coming to this event to justify you being there and you putting all this cost into it? Are you going to get the sales or the exposure out of it? And then the flip side,
factor everything in.
Yeah, the flip side is there's going to be too much. Like, is there going to be overwork? Like, are you going to be expected to be sitting at your table, signing or talking or selling for 8.5 hours, 9 hours with no breaks because you can't leave your table because the convention's going on the entire time?
Oh yeah, Juliet Cross sold out of books last year.
Mm-hmm.
Like, as an author, that's a success, but you've left some money on the table, right? And that's kind of not what she wants to do, right?
Right.
But yeah, I also think like the turnout side of things. How do you gauge that? Like, you can't go, like, I'm not gonna say you can't. I don't want to be as definitive with that, but there's probably a measure of like you want to do a pulse check. Hey, is this a first year event? what other events have they hosted?
Yeah.
What was the turnout like?
Right. I assume that I've never, been a professional person at this type of convention, but I assume that there's some sort of conversation between the authors or whatever and the people hosting the event and be like, okay, well, we've sold X amount of tickets. So that gives them an idea of how many people will be there, that kind of thing. Like I know at Monsterotica Book Con that I went to earlier this year, the majority of the authors sold out. It was a successful situation for them. So yeah, these are the questions that you have to figure out, the gamble that you're doing as a person, as a professional attending that event. Okay, so let's say you hear about a con, you hear about a convention, and you think about going. What should we guide people to doing before, during, and after? So first
buy the book cart.
Yes. I was going to say first thing, research. Decide if you want to go. Right? So is this an event that's happened multiple times? Can you see what it was like last year? What people said about it last year? Photos, videos, testimonials. And not just from like the official website or the official podcast that's associated with the convention, but like just general Joe Schmo who went, what they thought about it. But also if this is the first time this con has happened, which lots of events, every event has a first year. You can still do a little bit of research about like the people who are putting on the event, the company or the person put on the event. Have they put on other events before?
We did. So like Romantic Con, that was the inaugural event in Orlando, and that by no means was a bad. There was stuff to learn.
Yeah,
but it looked like a fantastic turnout, an abundance of authors. So like not knocking inaugural events.
No, they're just a little bit more of a gamble because you have to do a little bit of deeper research.
Yeah. I would say step one I think you should look at the presenting person's website. Mm-hmm. I see a lot of different websites for conventions, and there are some that offer more detailed information. And I feel like if they're offering more detailed information, then it's a more substantial and robust website. Also looking at what's linked to that site, social media channels, etc., and start going down that pathway there before booking a flight or committing to tickets. Oftentimes you can get an idea of like what authors do we anticipate being there.
Right. Yeah, because they'll have some sort of a list or something on their page, and then you can go further. So this is a little insight into me. This is how I handle a lot of times anxiety and stress about new situations like this. Is I will research the heck out of it. So I'm like, oh, okay, there's this event. Let me read everything on their official website. Ooh, they have a whatever, Instagram or social media. Let me read everything there. Oh, wait, they have an email list. Let me get on that email list. They have a Discord. Let me get on their Discord. And there's Reddit. Let me. So by the end, I feel like I know, but then I'm also like, oh, these people are going to be there. These authors or artists or vendors or whatever are going to be there. Then I start following them on social media and see what they're saying about maybe what they're excited to bring out for that event or release for that event or show people for that event. Because that gives you an idea of how excited they are for it, how optimistic they are about that event. Other than that, though, I would also look into where's the event being held, both the geographic location, but also like, is it in a hotel? Is it in a convention center? Find out about that place so you know what to expect. Something that's held in one large room of a hotel is going to give you an idea of the size and scope of the event versus something that's held in 5 hotels, for example, or a convention center. Look into the weather and what's going on in that location at the time that convention is supposed to happen. For example, maybe going to New Orleans sounds great on any particular time of year. Maybe you'll go to an event in New Orleans and go to a convention, but maybe you don't want to do it during Mardi Gras. Maybe that's not your jam. It's a completely different, feel in that town during Mardi Gras than during, say, the rest of the year. So just find out what else is going on geographically or around that time of the year in that location, because that's going to give you an idea of what to expect and whether or not you want to go as well. Any other researchy kind of things you guys can think about, Kelly or Ash?
I think tracking the authors and their social medias has been really key to me in the last year or year and a half, and understanding what events that they frequent to, because I think while they're obviously trying to sell a product, right? At the end of the day, it's their art. They're trying to make a living. I find that especially in the romantasy genre, they tend to be more, they seem to be very authentic. And if there's a problematic, situation in an area geographically, or with the vendor holder themselves, or with other authors, I find that they have the most tea.
Right.
And so if there's a concern that you have as a human, considering the world that we are in right now, the authors, I feel, and their followers are being very vocal right now. And they're also going to be what I feel is a healthy guide as to whether or not a particular event is worth venturing to.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So let's say you've done all that and you decide that this is the con for you. You want to go to this thing. Next thing you do is you need to book everything. So you need to buy your ticket to the event, whatever level of ticket that is. If there's tiered tickets, whether that's like a general entry pass, a super duper extra VIP, whatever, your ticket to the event is, buy it. Also research whether or not you're going to have to buy multiple tickets or sign up for multiple tickets. For example, you may buy a ticket to an event, but then you might have to buy a separate ticket to a ball or whatever if you want to do that, or ticketed event for author signings. Pay attention if there's auxiliary events related to the main convention that you want to go to, and make sure you purchase all the tickets for the things you want to go to. I would say your travel tickets, whether you're driving there, make sure your car's in good shape or whatever. Whether you're flying, you might need to buy your plane tickets. And if you're flying, then you need to figure out if you're going to have to rent a car, or if how you're going to get from the airport to the hotel or wherever the convention site is, whether it's going to be a light rail, a subway, rental, Uber, whatever, Lyft, whatever your situation is, plan that through. And think about that as part of the total experience you're going to have and the total cost you're going to have to set aside for it.
Absolutely. Try to find, kudos to you if you can find the hidden costs.
Yeah.
They're in there. Like what's parking like at the venue?
Yes.
Are you staying on site? Is parking included? What happens? What do you do? Where are you going to eat?
Other than the lodging, whether it's hotel, obviously, yeah, do your lodging, whether it's hotel, whether it's Airbnb type situation, whether you're doing a roomie type situation, sharing a hotel with somebody else, get all that resolved ahead of time. But also think about reservations. Depending on the place and depending on what you're wanting to do, sometimes if there's like a restaurant you want to eat at, or an event you want to do, like a local show, or, whatever, you might have to set reservations for things too, that you might want to think about ahead of time and doing all that. Any other booking kind of stuff you guys can think of?
I think you nailed it there. Reservations, I think, are often overlooked. And I think that we spend, as human beings in general, and we spend a lot of time in our own personal bubbles, and we don't remember that when we get there are lots of people who are there to do the same thing we're there to do. But there are also people who, like you had mentioned earlier, they might be there for a regional football game, or they might be there for an event that's taking place. In our case, in Orlando, there are lots of events that are happening
all the time, like regularly.
The nearest abundance of food is going to be at a themed off-property kind of resort space. So there's going to be a need for reservations. I think did we have reservations or
last
reservation
year? I think we
hiccups?
did. I thought you guys did.
We maybe did. And I think we ended up waiting a little bit more, right?
I think so we had reservations with our sister, and we did that.
Did we get
at Springs?
Oh, we must have been there for a different reason then. Because I distinctly remember being at Disney Springs with Mari and Kelly.
Yeah, I think we went there for a different situation, but maybe it was not the first BookCon, maybe it was the second.
Yeah.
Okay.
I
Because
think
it was also Orlando.
one.
Was it? Yeah. Yeah, you're right. You're right, Cal.
Gotcha.
That's actually a good point, though, because I always think about other events happening, because I've been to Dragon Con for a few years now. Dragon Con's in Atlanta. And every year that Dragon Con goes on, Labor Day weekend in Atlanta, downtown, there is always a sportsing football event some sort of big
Go birds.
football situation, and some sort of concert, all in the same weekend, all in the same area. It's a strange mix of people. Let me just put it that way. So yeah, there are things going on outside your bubble, believe it or not.
Yeah. Absolutely.
All right. Once you've gotten all your stuff reserved that you can ahead of time, next thing would be to pack. So for a book convention, like Ash mentioned, check out what you can carry because books are heavy. Poor Kelly carried all my books last year so many times.
Yeah.
Saint Kelly.
Yeah.
I'm going to make him carry mine this year.
Well, no, because we have book carts this year. So saving everybody's backs and shoulders. Yeah, find out what kind of like a cart or book or book cart or like wagony type system, what you can use to carry stuff around because you're going to get tired carrying your stuff around all day if there's any weight to it. And books are heavy. They just are.
Don't assume that what you're bringing is allowed at the venue.
Right.
Check what the venue, because I don't think we can't take wagons, right?
Right. Wagon. Well, it depends on the event. Most book events that I've seen don't allow like long, like rectangle wagons. They allow something that's about the footprint of a book cart. And the book cart, I don't know the exact size off the top of my head, but it's like the size of like a laptop, more or less. It's a square box with wheels, and you wheel it around.
Like a milk crate with wheels.
Yeah. And it's what most book cons allow. There may be some variation on it. Like some of them will allow if it's the same footprint but taller, like you have one of those like shopping bag things, they'll allow that. Sometimes they'll allow a book bag, like rolling book bags or rolling luggage. It just depends. Pay attention to the FAQ of the event you're going to. And if it's not there, ask. But yeah, figure out how you're going to carry your stuff around. If it's a book convention, highly recommend something with wheels.
Something that I started loading our book cart as we go through books with that and authors that will be there. What I've been doing as I load the book cart is I'll flip to the page that I want them to sign. I'll take a Post-it note and I'll write their name on the Post-it note upside down, and I'll stick that to the title page or the page that I want them to sign, and then I place it in alphabetical order inside the book cart. So that way, when I arrive at their booth or their table, I will grab the book, pull it out, and they can just open it directly to the page where I want them to sign. And if I wanted my name signed on it, I would spell my name on that.
Yeah, that's good. It makes it faster for everybody. Another thing that I've heard, well, also leave space in your book cart for anything you're going to buy. Because if you've done pre-orders or you're going to buy books there, you're going to need space for that too. And also something I've heard that people do that I thought was a good idea that I think I'm going to do this year is carry some sort of like a pencil box or an envelope or something in your book cart that you can put the little things that you buy or pick up. So if you do pick up stickers or bookmarks, that way they don't fall out of your book cart or get crushed with the books. They have a safe little spot for them. So think about some sort of a little like separate pouch or pencil box or envelope or something for the smaller things that you might buy that also need to be protected.
There's a great tip there for sure. I haven't have an abundance of zippered bags.
Same. They can be so pretty.
Yeah.
Other than the tote book cart, I would say your clothing, costume, shoes. And I say that clothing would be your when you're tired and you don't feel like messing with it, whatever your comfort clothing is. So you might have these grand notions you're going to wear costumes, you're going to wear something unusual to what you normally wear, but like bring your comfort stuff too. If you're, a dress kind of person, or if you're a jeans and t-shirt kind of person, or shorts, whatever your comfort stuff is, bring it, because you're going to be tired at some point and you're going to want to wear just your regular comfort stuff. So pack that. If you are planning on doing a costume, go ahead and get everything together for that costume and put it in a bag and seal it and pack it, and you can just grab it and go in one spot. That is the best tip I've ever had for any costume stuff I've been to, because generally you're not going to wear your costume stuff anything else, So you're able to put it aside, whether that's in a garment bag or like some sort of a big Ziploc bag, whatever your situation is, a separate tote bag. Just go ahead and pre-pack it. And have it be ready to go way before you're ready to pack everything else. So you have all the pieces. And if there's something I've learned from the old belly dance days is do a dress rehearsal. If you're going to be wearing a costume or something weird, like put it on. Make sure it doesn't hurt when you have it on for 5 minutes.
Oh yeah.
If
it's uncomfortable for a minute, it'll be uncomfortable for hours.
Yeah. I did a rookie mistake. I bought this cool bat headband at Epic, or Kelly got me at Darkmoor, and I was excited to wear it to Halloween Horror Nights. And Kelly, I think I had it on for 5 minutes? And I was like, this is too tight and it's giving me a headache. So yeah, dress rehearsal, put your stuff on and do whatever you're going to do around the house, read, do whatever you normally do, but put it on and make sure that you're going to be okay with wearing it all day. Because if you're not comfortable in it, you're not going to be comfortable out in public and in a situation where you're on your feet or in line or, in a weird situation. So yeah. And then good.
Along with that, I would suggest put together what I would call a first aid kit for your cosplay. If there's a small roll of duct tape or some super glue. Yeah, a needle and thread, because you just random buttons, safety pins.
Velcro.
Those are all small things. Yes, Velcro. All small things that can go into something. A Sharpie, aka liquid anodizer, or pocket anodizer. You can do minimal repairs and rescue. Maybe not even yourself, but if you just have that small little first aid kit of cosplay supplies, or a rocket pack of cosplay supplies, then you might save someone else's day too.
Shoes. Don't break out a new pair of shoes for a convention. Ever. You need to break in your shoes ahead of time. Wear them, stand in them for a while.
Amara, you've touched on a pet peeve of mine for sure. Don't ask social media for the recommendation of shoes. It takes a little bit of time, but yeah, if you go into go into a shoe store, and oftentimes you can get size, they'll scan your foot, and just be honest with what your intentions are. The same way you would go into a bookshop and maybe ask, hey, I'm looking for a book and I want this style or this character or this trope. Go into the shoe store and say, hey, I'm looking for shoes. I'm going to be on my feet for 6 to 8 hours. I'm going to be moving slowly, standing and talking. And this is what I want. This is how I want to use them. What shoes would you recommend that fit my foot?
And your preferences. Because I love my sandals. I have my waterproof Chaco sandals that I wear all summer. But if you're not a sandal person, if you don't like your feet out, or if it rubs your feet, or if, something between your toes bugs you, it doesn't matter if I think they're the most comfortable things ever. They're not going to work for you,
Exactly. I think that's what stops me from a dragon rider costume, is I feel like a dragon rider would have a swell pair of Chelsea boots, but I'm not going to wear those all day. So I'm going to wear on cloud shoes. So I got to look for a cosplay that leans into that or find a way to put some kind of decoration over top of it.
Yeah. Any other clothing, costume, shoe kind of stuff, guys?
Bring a choice. I was in the field, when I say in the field, not like with potatoes or anything like that. Just I was out and about servicing accounts, and a customer handed me something, and I pulled on it, and I got soaked, so much water, and it was comical. And I was just here I am on this trip, and I said, can I use your bathroom? And he says, yep. And I went to the car and I got my spare, and I went into the bathroom and I came out, and it just so happened that everything I wear is the same. So I looked exactly the same, just dry and pressed when I came out. And he was they just said, hey, that was a pro move. And I was well, bring a spare.
Yeah, definitely bring a spare.
Yeah.
I would say even for shoes too, because my feet get sore very easily. Even if they're really good shoes that I wear often and that I like, often I have a hard time wearing the same pair of shoes 2 days in a row if I'm going to be on my feet for many, many hours both days. So I usually have to have a different kind of shoe. So if you have a 2-day event, bring two pairs of shoes at least.
And there's nothing wrong with having cosplay shoes and then saying okay, well, I'm traversing this space, so I'm gonna take my cosplay shoes off and put on my sneakers, and just put my cosplay shoes in my bin or my cart or in my bag, and I'm gonna walk to where I need to go, and when I get there and there's opportunities to interact as a cosplayer, I can put my cosplay shoes back on.
Absolutely. All right, but enough about shoes and feet. Food, snacks, water bottle. Bring snacks. Bring something that's like you can just leave in your bag that's not going to melt, that's not going to leak, whether that's like a snack bar or it's a bag of like nuts or chips or whatever you like. Bring snacks and bring a water bottle or beverage of some kind. Whether that's an empty water bottle that you're going to fill there or whether it's, bottled water that you've bought, whatever. Hydrate and do snacks because you're probably going to be excited to be there and doing things and seeing things and talking to people. And you may not do the normal stuff that you do in your normal day, like drink enough water or drink enough beverage of whatever and have snacks. And then you're going to be either sick or crabby and nobody wants that.
And in that vein, if you are a millennial or older, pack the pain meds.
Yes.
Pack the ibuprofen / Tylenol, whatever that drug of choice is for you. For us, it's ibuprofen. We pregame that stuff now, like before a park, before an event. We know it's going to be a long day. And to your point, right, we're going to forget to eat, but when we leave. So you're going to be talking to people, you're going to be touching hands, right? Touching spaces. So bring your ibuprofen, bring your emergency, bring your hand sanitizer, like be a responsible adult.
Wash your hands more than you think you need to. Yes.
Yeah. I would say this, if you're with a group of people, ask for what you need. We're not always sure. And I think we've done this in the past where I was like, hey, I can't do anything unless I need sugar. I need to eat something.
Yeah.
So it was like, if you're with a group of people, understand that they don't feel your stomach.
Yeah.
And that you may need to say, hey guys, you press on. I got to get a sandwich.
Or like in my case, if we're outside, right, and I don't have enough sunscreen to carry me throughout the day, I'll ask a stranger if I can't go purchase it in a small quantity myself. But yeah, you'll see, and people will be happy to help in that situation because you're not going to contaminate their stuff.
Right.
They'll be like, oh yeah, no, girl, you don't want skin cancer.
Nobody wants to be burnt to a crisp.
No. They feel you because they've been there.
Unless you're Hades.
Unless you're what?
Hades.
Did he really burn people?
I don't know. Sometimes I think.
They usually deserve
Depends what book, depends who's writing them.
Yeah.
The heat miser.
Any other food stuff?
No, you crushed it.
Yeah. And definitely the meds. Chargers. Bring your chargers for your devices. And bring.
Or backup batteries.
And a battery. Yeah, some sort of backup battery. On our notes, I wrote diary when I meant battery.
Oh,
so
that's okay.
Nice.
Yes, a battery. I mean, I guess you could bring your diary if you want to. Bring your chargers, bring your portable battery type system. Make sure it works. Make sure you know where it is and you have a good place to carry it with you so you have access to it. And not just for your phone, like whatever it is you're using. If you're using your Kindle, maybe, or your e-reader device, then you're going to want some sort of charger for that. If you're using some sort of separate like camera system or little recording system, whatever you're using, you're going to need some sort of, battery source for that. So just make sure you bring all of that. A lot of events now have like trading or trinket trading where you can make stuff and trade it with people. And this is a good tool if you're like a crafty person but maybe not an extrovert. It's a way to interact with people without having to talk about anything other than, hey, I've got this thing to trade. Would you like a thing?
I think I love that part.
I know you do. I know several people who do. So if that's your jam, like bring whatever it is you made, whether you 3D printed stuff, whether you made bracelets, whether you whatever you did, stickers, whatever you've brought to trade, don't forget to bring it. And have some sort of container to carry it in. Because it's not just packing it in your bag, but like, okay, how are you going to have that with you to be able to interact with people and give it to people? Is it going to be in a separate pouch? Is it going to be, strung on what you're already carrying? Figure that out.
I think, what did we do last year? The fairy terrariums, and those were glass.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So there was a real danger that if you like had too many of them together, you were going to have some weaponized fairies. Yeah. So be prepared, like you said. Sometimes I feel bad. I want to give I think this year for some authors, I want to do a more useful gift. So I'm going to do some bookmark. What are they, like bookmark purses? Is that what they are? Where it's like a shoulder strap with the book, with the fabric piece in between that serves as a bookmark.
Oh, I hadn't seen those.
Oh, I've seen the trend, but I didn't know what it was called.
I don't know if it's called, I don't know, but yeah. So I have picked up a bunch of shoulder straps, and I still have to go. I have to go and sew them all up. I got everything all together. So that's what I'll probably do this year for them.
Okay. In addition to that, I would say if you do have stickers to give away or like business cards or whatever, if you do have something that you're wanting to share with people, don't forget to bring those. And once again, have them in a way that they're easily accessible, that you can give them to people if people ask for it or if you want to give them to people. And lastly, in all your packing, also leave room for the stuff you're going to buy. However, pro tip from Kelly, if you don't, just figure out where the closest place you can ship stuff out and UPS or USPS or FedEx stuff home.
That's a great tip, Kelly, especially with books. Because I think, Kelly, you do like UPS, like if it fits, USPS, like if it fits, it ships kind of thing, right?
Or USPS has the one price for a box type thing with the it fits, it ships. But one of the things that you also can do is UPS. I don't know if FedEx does it too, but I know UPS does the whole, like, you can ship your luggage home, and it's based on the size of the luggage and not the weight of it.
Ooh, life hack.
Yeah, because if you go overweight and you're flying, that stuff is expensive. And those books get overweight real fast.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
I wouldn't know anything about that. The other thing I would say in the preparing phase is what I call the girding your loins phase. And this is where you prepare yourself mentally and physically for the event. Kind of like it was a sporting event, whether it was a race, whatever your thing is. So the first thing would be your plan of attack. So if there are maps available of what the floor is going to look like or how the convention center is laid out or whatever, look at those maps. Figure out what you want to do. Are you wanting to go to a particular area first or a particular floor first? Or have you signed up for a thing and you need to make sure you can get from this place to this space fast enough? Make sure that you do that. So figure it out. So you have a little bit of a lay of the land ahead of time if you can. But also, if the event, which more and more events now have apps particular to, specific to that event, download the app. So sometimes on the app, it's just a schedule of the panels or the authors are going to be there, which is fine. Sometimes the app will give you the map of the area, or it'll give you like the ability to get into a wait list. Monster Erotica BookCon was the first experience I had with this, where they did this amazing job with a wait list, like a digital wait list on the app. So you didn't have to get a ticket. You didn't have to stand in a physical line for 4 hours. You signed up in this digital queue. You went and did your stuff. You talked to people, you interacted, you maybe sat and had a cup of coffee, whatever. And then look, on the digital queue, it's time for me to be at this place for this line. You get in line and it's you and maybe 5 other people. And the vendor or the author or the artist handles those 5 people. And then the next 5 people are called up digitally. So check to see what functionality is available if the con that you're going to has an app.
Absolutely. Also, give yourself room for error. Like, don't plan everything by the minute. Can you imagine, as wiretight as I may be, if you gave me an itinerary to stick to and then something threw it off, trying to stay flexible can be a challenge sometimes. So, but if you said, hey, we're going to aim, just loosely aim, we're going to be interacting on the main floor for X through Z. We're going to try to get something to eat at this point. We have panels over here. Here's breathing room as well, kind of thing. Like, plan, but don't be strict.
Right. Pack, but don't overpack. Plan, but don't overplan. Got to find that sweet spot for all of it. Yeah.
That's going to be different for everyone too.
Right. Break in your shoes if you haven't already. I'll say that again. Break in your shoes. If you're eligible, get whatever shots you need to get ahead of time. You don't want to be sick leading up to the event or at the event. So if you're able and eligible to get vaccines or whatever, get them. And
fully recommend rabies.
I mean, yes, nobody wants actual rabies. Get the shots, please. But also, like, in the days leading up to the event, eat and drink and sleep well. So give your body so it can be in the primest shape it can be for whatever event you're going to put it through. So like you would pre-hydrate before you're going to go out in Disney or Universal all day, or you're going to run a 5K or whatever, pre-hydrate. Make sure you eat well leading up to whatever eating well looks like for you. Maybe that's high protein. Maybe that's lots of fruit and vegetables. You're most likely not going to get your preferred diet stuff at an event. It's going to be weird stuff that you're not used to. So get your body in whatever good shape it is for you, whatever that means for you leading up to it, and sleep well leading up to it so that you can be at a point where you can physically and mentally enjoy that event that you've put all this planning and money into.
One of the things we used to say at before like sporting events was it's not what you do the day before, it's what you do 2 days before.
Yeah.
So like you imagine the day before this event, if you have travel, you're not going to sleep well on a plane.
Right.
To get the stress levels, even if once you get through the travel, get to where you're going, get checked into the room, the odds that your heart rate's going to be elevated and you've experienced some level of stress going into those are high odds there. Mm-hmm. So don't beat yourself up if you don't have 8 hours of blissful rest the day before. But try to set yourself up, like Mara said, stock up on those things before, 2 days before, 3 days before.
Yeah. Okay. Let's say you're there. Things to think about during the event. First thing, register. Whatever registration looks like, whether that's signing in, whether that's showing them your app on the phone, showing your ID, get registered for the event. Have that be the first thing so that you can be ready to go and get whatever last minute information or changes or things may be happening at that event. Make that be your priority. The second thing is, within the confines of your ability, reach out and socialize. Maybe that's the people around you in line. Maybe that's somebody, who's looking at the same book that you're looking at. Maybe somebody is wondering something out loud that you know the answer to and you can help them. Maybe you guys are wearing the same fandom shirt or whatever. The people who are there because they like the same kind of stuff that you do. So think about socializing if that's your jam, if you're feeling it. And also on the flip side, if you are more of an extrovert kind of person or somebody who socializes more easily, be patient with the people around you. You don't know what kind of day they've had. You don't know how people are reacting to crowds or what situation they had. Yeah, have patience. Give people grace and have patience.
Absolutely. Especially if you're trying to get somewhere. Nobody knows what panels you've booked or where you want to be next. Mm-hmm. And so if somebody's in your way, I got hit by a car today walking.
What?
Yeah, it wasn't a big collision. It was just like she ran over my foot. But in her world, we walk on the left side of the road. But in her world, she saw a vehicle coming on the right side, and she was just impatient and needed to move her vehicle past me, but never gave us enough time to move to the side of the road. So she just kind of bumped into me and then ran over my foot and then wanted to yell at me. And I was like, she says, that was a car on the other side of the road. And I said, yes, ma'am. And I'm a human being. I was like, please don't lose sight of that. Like, this is a bus. There was a bus. I was kids going to school. It's like, there's a bus stop. There are kids running around. If I was a child and you ran me over, you would just be concerned about getting to where you're going. So the idea here is slow down.
Yeah.
Give grace.
It's not that important.
Really, it's not. It's not that serious. It's not that important. It's not life or death. I promise. And if it is, and you're not like fire, police, or paramedic, then it's not your issue.
Correct.
Let the professionals handle it. Second thing would be to pace yourself. Like, you might be excited and you're there and you want to do all the things. It will be there the entire time. You don't have to do everything in the first hour, in the first 5 minutes. Like, hydrate, take a rest, whether that's sitting down or actually going back to the room for a nap, whatever it takes, eating snacks. Pace yourself so you can be in a good space to enjoy it the entire time that you're planning to be there.
And it can be like drinking from a fire hose. Like, when you walk in, it can be like, whoa. So
Yeah.
You should pace yourself. That's great advice, Mari.
Yeah. The last one is kind of general, but we all know what it means. You know what it means. Act right. Act right, y'all. Just act right. That's like the best thing I can, that's the best way I can say it. So there are people who are going to have differing experiences than you. Like I said, maybe they're having a bad day. Maybe it's their first time out of the house in who knows how long. Maybe they just had somebody die. Maybe this is like the biggest thing they're going to do all year. Whatever. Just know that not everyone's experience is your experience, and be okay with that. Let people enjoy things.
Yeah.
Let people have their moment. Also know that different people have different abilities, physical, mental, etc. And not all disabilities are visible, and not all disabilities happen all the time. So for me, this was the first Dragon Con where I've had to use my cane. I didn't use it the entire time, but I used it some of the time. And there was a marked difference in how people treated me when I was walking around without my cane versus with my cane. I'm walking at the same speed, more or less, whether I have my cane or not. But if you're behind a person who's using some sort of assistive device and you're in a hurry or you need to get somewhere fast, you don't have to say anything snarky. You don't have to breathe loud. If you're able to walk around them, if you're that capable and speedy, just walk around. Maybe say, excuse me, but just walk around.
You can ask permission.
Yeah, you don't have to comment in a snarky way.
No.
Yeah,
people are human beings.
I had some of that. Yeah. Also, like I said, just know that not everything that's going on with everybody is visible. You don't know their medical history. You don't need to know their medical history. Like I said, if you need to go around in a nice way. People walk like you would drive. If there's a slow car in front of you,
unless you live in Florida.
Unless you live in Florida. Yeah, come on.
Yeah, let me rephrase that. Walk like you should drive.
I just told you a story about how I got run over.
Like you should be driving. Look around and safely pass people if you need to pass people. If you suddenly need to stop, go to the side of the road. Go to the side of the walkway and stop. Don't stop in the middle of like everyone around you and expect everyone behind you to just stop behind you and not knock somebody over. Like, come on.
I always say, try to treat strangers as if they were your sibling.
Yeah.
Like, if I would give that same space and grace to you, Mari, then I should be giving that same space and grace to someone else. Like,
right.
Yeah, if it doesn't hurt you or anybody else directly, keep your mouth shut, keep it moving.
Yeah, go with the flow. I would also say people who are using a chair or helping somebody else use a chair, or people who have kids in like a baby buggy, baby stroller situation, if that thing is on wheels, whether it's a person, baby, whatever, you move out of their way. Don't expect them to like maneuver out of your way. It's a lot easier for you to sidestep than for someone in a wheelchair to have to like change their direction. Or in a scooter or whatever. So think about what's the easiest way to make this flow of movement better for everyone. Oh, I can just take a step this way. I'm going to take a step this way. Get out of your way. We're good.
Also talk to them.
Yeah. That's another thing I was going to say. Like that 1 year during Halloween Horror Nights when I was in the wheelchair and Kelly was pushing me around, it was interesting seeing how removed I felt. I can't speak for everybody who uses a wheelchair, but like at that time, I felt very removed from everybody in the conversation. I was literally on a different level. Like my face was on a different level, and I felt like I was invisible in a lot of ways. So just like pay attention to people around you. Look up, look down.
Yes, exactly. They're all everybody's there. And I think society as a whole, oftentimes, not every time, but oftentimes we're like, hey, don't stare. Hey, don't make this uncomfortable, But at the same time, acknowledge this is a human being and they have thoughts and ideas and experiences. And just because they're on a different level doesn't mean you can't talk to them and say, hey, what do you think of this book? Hey, what's going on here? Or, even if you're in a hurry, hey, well, I am, I'm late for this really crazy thing. Would you mind if I scoot by?
Exactly.
What side would you like me to scoot by on?
Right. Exactly. Once again, act right. Kelly, you're the one who had to push me around that year in the chair. Is there anything else you would add to that?
No, I mean, That's one of the biggest problems with most conventions is people just not acting right. People being rude, people forgetting they're in a public space.
Yeah.
People just forgetting that you need to shower. That's a big problem at nerd cons specifically.
Yeah, multi-day cons, definitely. Yes.
Like, I get it. We all want to stay up and experience as much of the 24-hour convention as we can, but you need to shower.
Yeah.
Is there a pool? Because I feel like chlorine maybe could substitute.
Real shower. Real shower.
Oh, okay, just checking.
Water, soap, shower. Real shower.
Just checking.
I would also say if there are stairs and elevators in this situation and you're able to use the stairs and like the elevator gets backed up, which often happens when you have big groups of people, let the people who can't use the stairs use the elevator and like try and use the stairs if you can.
I feel like we're good at that as a group. Like I think if you catch us in like the four of us in general on the moving walkway at places, it is because we've reached our limit.
We're
trying to get out of there faster.
Yes.
Is what it is.
We're just exhausted.
Yeah, but I do feel like anytime we see stairs, we're just like, I get stairs. It is kind of thing,
right?
And I'm cool with that. But yeah, I think something to keep in mind for the men in our group. There's definitely a skewed demographic at the book cons.
Yeah.
And there's going to be a time when you have to use the restroom, and you may notice. I think Kelly and I went through that this past year, where the men were restricted to an auxiliary, like single stall bath, and it wasn't an issue. I'm just saying, like, just don't come in as a dude and be like, "This is my bathroom."
Yeah.
Just,
it works out better for everybody. Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, actually, Monster Erotica Con Monster Erotica Book Con did a really good, handled this very well. What they did was there were two bathrooms right next to where all the vending and book stuff was going on, and they labeled them all gender neutral.
Oh,
so
good.
It was just everybody use everything, and there were never any lines outside any of the bathrooms.
Yeah, I think even with the use of the men's facilities at Romanticon, there still might have been a line for women.
Yeah, probably. There was so many more like female presenting people there than male presenting people. Absolutely. Just visually looking around from what I remember. Yeah.
And you're not getting an advantage because when there's the number of pieces of waste equipment, I don't know what to call these things, in the facility. Men's rooms are typically split with a wall device.
It's not like you're getting double the stalls. Yeah.
Exactly. I'm not missing, and I'm gonna be honest here. If I had to go that bad, I would, and couldn't wait. I'd just go to my room.
Yeah, that's the other thing. Like don't forget there are bathrooms elsewhere usually. Like if there's a long line and you really have to go, like there's probably another bathroom that you might be able to walk to and get to quicker than you would waiting in line. So most public places have more than one bathroom area. Just because it's not the closest one to where the book convention is happening doesn't mean it's the only one. So once again, that goes back to look at your maps and see where the bathrooms are and things. The last part of Act Right that I will say is if you see something going on that isn't right, either speak up if you're comfortable and safe doing so, or find someone else to handle the situation. For example, if you are in a situation where someone is being sexually harassed or being picked on or something is going on and you don't feel comfortable maybe standing up for them or saying, hey, that's not right, you stand up for it if you feel safe to do so. If you feel safe and comfortable doing so, then say something. If you don't feel comfortable or safe in that situation, find somebody. These events have security whose job it is to deal with this stuff. Find somebody and say something. Oftentimes, bad situations can be kept from getting worse if people speak up. So don't treat people like you wouldn't want to be treated. But if you see something, say something. Like I have been in a situation at a convention where I got groped and I didn't really know what to do. And then after the fact, I found out there were multiple people getting groped at around that same time and place. And I feel like if I had said something to the security that was there, maybe that person could have been caught or stopped. Of course, you don't think about that in the moment when something is happening to you because you're just like obviously flustered You're like, wait,
you're
what?
Stunned.
Yeah.
What just happened?
Yeah. So, but if you're an outside person, if you see somebody doing something to somebody else, you're probably in a calmer headspace than the person that's happening to. So if either say something if you're comfortable doing so. If not, it's okay. Say something to security or somebody. Like if you don't feel comfortable or safe getting involved in actually stopping whatever's happening firsthand, find somebody whose job it is to do that.
Something I do in difficult situations, I try to practice like a handful of like one-liners, not jokes, but like if we were in a space and somebody said something that was questionable, it would be my response to them, and I think Ashley knows this, is, well, that's an interesting thing to say out loud. Or even if it's like vague, what do you mean by that? You know, get curious and disrupt that behavior. And if it was hands for me, like if I was seeing somebody, if something was going on, it would be like, what makes you think that that's the appropriate touch?
Right.
You know, and maybe perspective is a thing. So I would look to the other person to validate as well.
Right.
So like maybe they're goofing around and I just caught it at the wrong, hey, what makes it? And they say, well, you know, that's my wife and my wife was just teasing me. And, you know, we're cool.
Right.
Know.
Right. So context clues and everything else. But like, if you do see something like, you know, if someone's obviously groping multiple people without them interacting with the groping person, then obviously something's going on. Or if, you know, there's one thing that science fiction fantasy conventions, I feel, have gotten right and have, for the most part, drilled into attendees is that cosplay is not consent. Like you'll see it on stickers, you'll see it on T-shirts. Cosplay is not consent. So what that means is, if a person is in a very revealing outfit or dressed as a very maybe attractive character or even like sexual character or whatever, that doesn't give you permission to touch them, doesn't give you permission to grope them. It doesn't get, you know, none of that. Like they're still a person,
male or female.
Correct.
And here's a flex here that I've been kind of watching on social media when possible. It doesn't give you permission to photograph them in compromising positions.
Exactly.
Like especially if they have a unique and revealing costume.
Yeah.
And you're going to get some B-roll footage. That's for sure. Absolutely. Yeah. But if it's not directed at, you know, that's the gray area. If you walk into someone and you're like, oh, here's Jessica Rabbit over here, let me take this picture as she's tying her shoe. And that is hugely inappropriate.
Like cosplayers put a lot of time and effort into what they're doing. And let me backtrack. Only once have I ever asked someone in costume to take their picture and they said no. And that one time was because they were rushing off to a panel and they didn't have the time to stop and pose. And that's okay. That's fine. That's why you ask. But every other time, and I've gotten, like, if any of you guys follow me on Instagram or whatever, you know, I take a billion pictures of people's cool costumes. Like, you ask for a picture and they will love to ham it up for you because they've put all this work into it. And like, people love to see themselves. Yeah. Afterwards, you'll see people asking, hey, I was wearing, you know, this Borg outfit or whatever. Did anyone take pictures of me? And they're looking for people who took pictures of them. So for the most part, people will want it, but they want to do it in a pose that they have practiced, not with like half their helmet off while they're eating a hamburger, you know?
Right. If you see them eating, let them eat their hamburger.
Yes, please. They're as tired as you are, maybe more, I promise.
I'm a huge fan of backwards questions. So if I wanted a photo with you, it might sound like, is now a bad time for a picture?
Right.
And oftentimes they're going to say, no, it's not a bad time. But if it is a bad time, they'll usually say, yep, it's a bad time, but come back at this other time.
Right.
And I'll be happy to. They'll give you the solution. And when it's their plan, it goes to plan. So
yeah. So all this falls under the umbrella, act right.
Word.
Yep. Anything else anybody wants to add to that?
No, I think you guys covered that very well.
All right. So then the last thing that you don't maybe think about is after the con. So you've gone to your event. What do you want to do afterwards? First,
sleep.
Yes, recover. Definitely. Number one, recover. But also reflect. Like, was it what you expected it to be? Was it worth everything you put into it? Money, time, planning. Is it something you would recommend to other people or that you would want to do again?
Yeah, I think that's great. Like, try to leave those things to the end. Make those mental notes, but try to leave. You're right. Leave those things to the end. Don't let them consume and define the event for
No,
you.
afterwards. Yeah.
Yeah.
So like this is once you're home, once you're done, after the fact. Also, feedback. So most of these events have official feedback, whether it's an app or they maybe send out a survey or they just ask questions on social media or whatever. If they're asking for feedback, give them feedback, whether that is positive or negative. You want it to be truthful and you want it to be critical. And so what I mean by critical is you don't want to say, oh, this event sucked.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, that doesn't tell anybody anything. Like, what about it sucked? What did you not like? Like, what could be better? So be constructive in your criticism. Give details so that if somebody else is thinking about going, that they will have your input as well.
I would also say attack problems, not people.
Yes.
I think a lot of people lose sight of that. Like, I didn't like this person. What was the action? What was the problem? And I'm going to be honest, not that they might be asking for it, but it's probably not a bad idea if you have the bandwidth and the ability to say, hey, I had this problem. This is what I came up against. But I feel like this could be a solution.
Right. Yeah.
You know,
if you can give feedback, absolutely.
Yeah. Your solution may not be the answer, but it may trigger. I can't tell you how many times I'll have an obstacle or a problem in front of me where it's, hey, this is a problem. And then like 2 hours later, we'll be handling a different problem. And the solution to that will trigger me exploring a different solution in another situation.
Yeah. And don't be shy about that, because throughout history, oftentimes a solution to one problem is a solution to many problems. So, like, for example, if you like to watch your TV or movies with closed captioning, you can thank disability representation for that. Like, I have to read it. I have to read closed captioning. But lots of things like that. It helps more people than just who you might be initially trying to help.
Yeah. Also, like, failure can be a solution too. Post-it notes. That was an attempt to make a very strong adhesive. And they failed, but they didn't classify it as a failure. They were just like, yeah, we accidentally made this very gentle adhesive. So, yeah.
What can we use it for?
Yeah, exactly. If you have a solution, share a solution.
Yeah. Also, follow up on any networking or open issues. So, like, if you met somebody at the con and you were like, oh, maybe, or like, I like X, Y, and Z, you should try this other thing. I'll send you a link on it. Or maybe you were going to follow up with somebody for like try and get an advanced reader copy. Or maybe you were talking about something completely unrelated to the con, but it was somebody you met there and you were going to message them about something. All these like open-ended issues that you maybe didn't do because you were in the middle of experiencing everything at a con, go back and like close those loops, do the things that you had said you were going to do. If you're going to get back to somebody or send them something or message them or whatever, go back and do that stuff.
But have forgiveness if somebody doesn't. Don't chase them down. I was at an extremely busy event last Saturday and came across somebody who promised to share links to watercolor painting videos, but they had a very challenging. I'm screwing with you. I'm messing with you.
I'm the problem.
I'm messing with you, Mara. I thought that would be a cute. Don't read into that. I didn't even think about it.
You're about to get a flood of watercolor videos once we finish recording.
Don't read into that. I can't. I was me being cheeky.
Gentle reminders are preferred.
Yes.
I was not even thinking about it until we just started talking. So don't.
We've been busy. Like
yeah.
Same.
I'm just goofing. I know you're busy. But keep that in mind. Like I have, like for me, if I was waiting on that, I would nudge. But
yes.
in a gentle, kind nudge.
Yeah.
Like, hey.
And I don't think anyone would have anything negative to say about that. Absolutely.
Correct.
So
space and grace for people, because you're traveling, they're traveling. They have to get home. They have to unpack. They have to remember. And if a few days goes by, nothing wrong with shooting them a message and saying, hey, it was great to meet you. By the way, have you had an opportunity?
Right. Exactly. Any other feedbacky kind of stuff?
You know what I think would be super great? I don't know if we have a resource for it. if we had like a 10-point checklist, is there a way to even, and this might be ad hoc, but like it might be worthwhile to link a checklist of like, just even if it was like the categories that you have broken out here, like maybe some things to keep in mind. What goes in the bag? What to do when you get there?
Yeah.
What to do afterwards?
Are you guys ready for this? I got a Jonathanism.
Shoot, what did I do?
Thank you for volunteering.
Yes.
You guys
You've
are-
just been voluntold, Jonathan.
Dang it.
Thank you.
You did it yourself, dude.
Okay, that's fine.
You love a list. Just drop it in Excel.
Make it an Excel thing.
Yeah. Okay.
Now he's excited. You guys can't see his face. I win.
Yay.
Mic drop.
Appreciate it.
Last thing I would say is think about like organizing your memories, however you like to do that. Whether you like to maybe keep a journal of the things you've done, like a travel journal or an event journal, or maybe you like to post photos or do scrapbooking, whether it's for personal stuff or for posting publicly, it doesn't matter. Whatever you do to like process your memories, keep your memories, have something to be able to look back on, whatever that looks like for you, leave time in your schedule after an event to like do that. Maybe the weekend after, that's what you're going to do.
Yeah. Oftentimes we take a lot of photos and I think they just end up kind of like getting lost in the phone. So taking time, like you said, to just, even if it's just organizing a bucket on cloud for the event, you could do that preemptively too.
Marie's really good about that. I feel like just cataloging her trips and her experiences that way.
Preemptively, you could set up your folders.
Yeah. So that's something that I do like to do. So I like to use Dropbox, but whatever you like to do, as soon as I'm going to an event. So for example, I've already pre-bought my ticket for DragonCon 2026. So I've created a folder in my little Dropbox where I keep my photos, DragonCon 2026. And so I've already started to put in there like my screenshots of the tickets I bought just in case something gets lost. So I have one place where I have everything there. And then as I start, like when I do start going to the event and taking pictures and processing them or screenshots or something I'm trying to remember, like maybe look up this author or connect with this artist or whatever, I have all that in one place rather than a billion random screenshots somewhere in my phone.
Correct. That's a great pro tip. And there's lots of different resources for that stuff as well, like Microsoft Loop, Trello, Dropbox, Cloud, Google Cloud, right? A lot of those are free resources. Google Cloud is a free resource, and Trello has a free version. So and they're all things that you can use to track events.
Yeah.
And to plan. And
I would say if you're more of a tactical, physical touch kind of person, I'm trying to remember. It was for Monster Erotica Book Con, and I don't remember the name of the person who did this, but they basically pre-created a scrapbook for the event with the author. So each author had that they were wanting to interact with, and they had a page that was already filled out with like the books that they have read, and they'd checked them off as they read them leading up to the event. They had a spot where they wanted the author to sign. And like they had left a spot there for a picture. So when they took a picture with the author and they would get that, they would like stick it in there, whenever they got home or whatever. But it was like a pre-done scrapbook, I guess, or journal or whatever. And everything was just very
next level.
Yeah, very easy and ready to go. But like, think about it, like 5 years from now, she can look back on that and be like, oh, look, this is when I met, Tiffany Roberts or Regina Bell, or Opal Rain. And it'd just be right there, very easy. So there wasn't it was a way to organize herself ahead of time and also make it easy afterwards.
Yes. And I think in the moment, too, it can make it easier.
Yeah.
How many times you get in front of an author and you're like, oh, you wrote, what book did you, okay, you wrote this. If you have that sheet and you're like, yeah, I wrote this, I read this book from this author, and this is the character that I most like. That's what kind of goes on.
Physical Goodreads is what she did.
Yeah. And it wasn't for anybody but her.
Stars.
It's not like she was posting it anywhere. It was for her own like enjoyment and memory jogger, and like, I'm sure she enjoyed doing it too, just because it was like a fun craft project and making an event out of it. So yeah, even if you're not like somebody who's going to post your stuff publicly, do stuff for yourself.
Yeah.
All right. Anything else we haven't talked about for these events that we want to bring up before I wrap it up?
No, I think we covered a lot.
We did.
I can't wait to look back at Jonathan's checklist.
I know. Mm-hmm. Maybe we'll have to post that once you do it. So fans,
Absolutely, yeah, you feel free to judge it.
if you need to, send us a gentle reminder if we haven't done it.
It comes full circle.
Yeah. All right, Kelly, you got anything to add?
No.
Okay. All right. So we are going to wrap it up then. Thanks for listening to Of Swords and Soulmates. Before we go, make sure to check the show notes, rate, review, and subscribe to us on your podcast app of choice. It helps others to find us and let us know what you're enjoying. Follow us on Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, or Goodreads at Of Swords and Soulmates. Check us out on our website, ofswordsandsoulmates.com. If you'd like to offer a suggestion for a future episode, book, topic, etc., feel free to reach out to us. If you want to read along with us as we prep for a new episode and get chapter-by-chapter interaction, join our Fable app book club by searching for the Of Swords and Soulmates book club. And last but not least, we hope that you'll join us in 2 weeks for our next episode, when we will be discussing Vampires of El Norte by Isabel Cañas.
Bye.
Bye-bye.